Hello, my name is Kaylin Rogers, and I am excited to present on an important topic in education. It's called cross-curricular planning and literature in K through 12 education. In today's presentation, we'll explore how integrating different subjects enhances student learning, particularly by incorporating literature across disciplines. In today's classrooms, we often teach subjects separately, math in one period, science in another, and history in a different one. But in the real world, knowledge isn't delivered like that. The most meaningful learning happens when students connect ideas across disciplines, which is exactly what cross-curricular planning does. Throughout this presentation, I'll discuss the benefits of interdisciplinary learning, how literature can be a tool for integration, and real life lesson examples that demonstrate this approach in action. Let's begin by understanding what cross curricular planning is and why it's important. Cross curricular planning encourages educators to design lessons that integrate multiple disciplines, allowing students to see the interconnectedness of knowledge. For instance, a project that combines science and art can help students understand scientific principles while expressing their creativity. This integration not only makes learning more engaging, but also helps students retain information better by applying it to diverse contexts. Fostering critical thinking is essential in today's educational landscape. By encouraging students to analyze and synthesize information from different subjects, we equip them with the tools they need to tackle complex problems both inside and outside of the classroom. This holistic approach prepares them for real world applications where interdisciplinary knowledge is often required. So, why is this approach so effective? Well, there are four key benefits. First, it strengthens critical thinking. When students examine an idea from multiple perspectives, they learn to think deeply, analyze connections, and form well rounded conclusions. For instance, reading a historical novel while studying a specific time period in history provides students with both factual and emotional insights. Second, it increases student engagement. When students see how lesson applies to the real world, they are naturally more interested and motivated to learn. Third, it creates a holistic learning experience. Instead of just memorizing isolated facts, students develop a bigger picture understanding of how subjects interact. And finally, it builds future ready skills. Collaboration, adaptability, and creative thinking are increasingly valuable in the workforce. And cross curricular approaches help students develop these essential skills very early on. Now, we're going to talk about engaging students through interdisciplinary learning. When students recognize that what they have learned in one class is connected to another, their motivation will increase. For example, if they read a historical fiction, they can better understand the social and political climate of that period, allowing them to develop critical thinking skills by comparing perspectives. Literature also serves as an excellent tool to bridge subjects. So, a book about a famous scientist can be used to teach both science and literacy skills, reinforcing comprehension while introducing scientific concepts. When students explore real world applications of their studies, they become more curious and engaged in the learning process, leading to a deeper retention of application and of knowledge. Let's talk more about why literature is such a powerful tool in cross-curricular learning. When we choose books that align with standards, we ensure that reading assignments support multiple subject areas. Selecting diverse texts also helps create an inclusive classroom environment where students can see their own experiences reflected in literature. Now, we'll continue to explore how aligning literature with learning standards enhances student engagement and achievement. By establishing a strong framework, selecting diverse texts, and creating thematic units, educators can ensure that literature serves as a powerful tool for interdisciplinary learning. So, number one, establishing a framework. To begin, a well defined framework is essential. This means that aligning literature choices with state and national education standards. Standards provide clear learning goals, ensuring that students develop essential skills such as critical thinking, analysis, and communication through literature. By adhering to these guidelines, we create a structured learning path that fosters both academic success and personal growth in students. Number two, diverse text selection. Selecting a variety of texts is key. This includes a mix of fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and multimedia services that cater to different learning styles and interests. When students see themselves reflected in the literature and engage with diverse perspectives, their motivation to read and analyze will deepen. Incorporating a culturally relevant and contemporary text alongside traditional classic enriches discussion and it broadens students' worldviews. And lastly, thematic unit development. Finally, we take a look at the thematic units. These units connect literature with subjects like history, science, and social studies, making learning more cohesive and meaningful. For example, pairing a novel like To Kill a Mockingbird with lessons on civil rights fosters deeper understanding. This approach helps students draw real world connections, enhancing both comprehension and retention. Here are some great examples of how literature can be used across different subjects. For math, we can use the story One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish. This helps young students recognize patterns, counting, and color sorting. For science, we can use texts such as The Very Hungry Caterpillar. This teaches about life cycles and animal development in a fun and memorable way. And lastly, for language, arts, and culture, one example of text would be If You Lived Here, Houses of the World. This allows students to explore global cultures and architecture while building reading comprehension skills. These books can help bring subjects to life in a way that traditional lectures often don't. Now let's take a look at specific lesson plans for our younger students, and this is specifically geared towards kindergarten through third grade. In this lesson, we will use the book Over the Forest to introduce students to different habitats and the animals that live in them. So here's how it works. We would start by reading Over the Forest, discussing the different animals and their environments. Then we would introduce an additional text titled Butterflies and Their Habitats. It's an expository text from the National Geographic Kids Explore My World of Butterflies. Then the students would write a diary entry from the perspective of a butterfly, describing what it sees, hears, and experiences. And then finally, they can draw a picture of their butterfly's habitat and then present their work to the class. So this lesson integrates science, literacy, writing, and art all in one single engaging activity. And now let's take a look at a lesson for older students that combines history, literature, and critical thinking. In this lesson, students will read Little House on the Prairie to explore pioneer life and westward expansion. So here's the breakdown. Number one, we will begin by reading excerpts from the novel and discussing the hardships and opportunities of westward migration. Then students explore the concepts of manifest destiny using primary and secondary sources. And then third, we would organize a debate where students could argue for or against westward expansion. And lastly, students would be able to then write a creative diary entry from the perspective of a pioneer. This would integrate their research and literacy analysis. This lesson connects history, persuasive writing, and social studies into one immersive experience. Now, what are some common challenges that educators face when implementing cross-curricular planning? One major challenge is time management. So teachers are often pressured for time, so structured scheduling and collaboration are key. Another challenge is ensuring curricular alignment. Teachers need clear guidelines to ensure lessons meet state and national standards. And finally, professional development is crucial. Schools should provide training so educators feel confident in interdisciplinary teaching. A collaboration is key to making cross-curricular planning work. So teachers should share resources and lesson plans to reduce individual work overload. Another thing that we can do is set a shared learning goal to ensure that there is consistency across all subjects. And lastly, we can engage in professional development to stay updated on best practices with one another. So as we wrap up today's discussion, I wanted to leave you with a few key takeaways about the power of cross-curricular planning. So the first is that education should reflect real world, where knowledge is not divided into neat categories, but it's interconnected. By interconnecting subjects, we help students develop critical thinking, problem solving, and collaboration skills, all of which are essential for success beyond this classroom. Second, that literature is a powerful tool for interdisciplinary learning, whether it's a historical novel that brings history to life, a science based story that simplifies complex concepts, or a culturally rich book that broadens students' perspectives. Literature can help bridge gaps between subjects, making learning more engaging and more meaningful. And third, educator collaboration is key. Effective cross curricular planning requires teachers to work together to align learning objectives and share resources. When we collaborate, we create richer and deeper learning experiences that benefit students in profound ways. And of course, challenges will exist, time constraints, curricular alignment, and training requirements, but they are not insurmountable. With structured planning, administrative support, professional development, and cross-curricular approaches can be successful implemented in classroom at all grade levels. Ultimately, our goal as educators is not just to teach facts, but to equip students with the skills and knowledge that they'll need to thrive in the real world. Cross-curricular planning allows us to do just that by making learning more connected, meaningful, and applicable to life beyond school. I want to thank you for your time and engagement today, and I hope that this presentation has provided valuable insight on how to cross-curricular planning and literature can transform the learning experiences.